hit record. Great. Welcome everybody to this meeting of the Old Colony Metropolitan Planning Organization. We can go ahead and call this meeting to order. I'll turn it over to Charlie to first read the welcome and call to order and accessibility statements.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Cravat. This meeting is accessible to people with disabilities. Microphones or telephones will be used by all speakers. If you would like this accommodation, please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833. The Notice of Non-Discrimination Rights and Protections to Beneficiaries with regard to the federal Title VI non-discrimination protections and the state non-discrimination protections is included on this meeting's agenda and is also available on the Old Colony Planning Council's website at https://oldcolonyplanning.org/. Please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833 for more information. Thank you.
Charlie.
So next we'll have the roll call. So call representing Secretary Tibbetts-Nutt.
Yep, Derek Cravat here representing MassDOT Secretary and CEO Monica Tibbetts-Nutt, and apologies that the scheduling issue came up, and we were hoping the Secretary would chair this meeting, and we'll look into that for the future and touch on that later as well. But I am here from MassDOT. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Representing Administrator Gulliver. I believe it's Sean Handy.
Sean Handy here, representing Administrator Gulliver.
And we're looking for John Messia representing Mayor Sullivan. Not here yet. Lee Hartman representing Chair of the Select Board in Plymouth, Lee Hartman.
No, I'm not the chair. I'm just representing the chair.
Richard Quintal.
Richard Quintal, Lee Hartman present.
Thank you. And we're looking to see if we have Chair of the Select Board in West Bridgewater, Jeff Ryan. Don't believe he's on yet. Dan Salvucci, Vice
Present.
Chair Whip. Thank you.
Yeah, present.
We have Mike Lambert from the Brockton Area Transit. Not yet. And then representing Old Colony Planning Council is President Rebecca Coletta.
Here, thank you.
Thank you. Chair, we do have a quorum.
All right, great. Thank you, Charlie, and welcome everyone. Move on to our next item, which is public comments. Is there anyone who would like to make a public comment at this time?
Derek, if I just could, Representative Rita Mendez has joined us today. So just want to acknowledge the legislators who joined us today.
Excellent. Thank you, Mary, and welcome, Representative. All right. I do not see any hands or items in the chat for public comments. So if you do have a comment at any time during the meeting, you can use the raise hand function on Zoom or enter something in the chat. If you're on the phone, you can press *9 and we'll be sure to call on you. We'll move on to the next item, which is meeting minutes from January 16th, 2024. I'll ask for a motion and second to approve the January meeting minutes.
I'll motion Dan Salvucci Whitman.
A second, Becky Coletta.
All right, thank you both. Motion having been made and seconded. Any comments or questions on the minutes? Right, seeing none, go ahead and call the roll, Charlie.
Derek Cravat.
Derek Cravat, yes.
Sean Handy.
Yes.
Lee Hartman.
Yes.
Dan Salvucci.
Yes.
And Becky Coletta.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Move on to our next item, which is a summary from MassDOT. So I'm happy to give a quick report here as chair. Like I said, we're working with our secretary's office, given the secretary is the chair of all MPOs in Massachusetts, and we from the Office of Transportation Planning typically represent the secretary here. So we are looking though to schedule the secretary to come to each MPO meeting within the next few months or so. So be on the lookout for that. We'll be sure to work with Old Colony folks on staff to schedule that. But in the meantime, I just wanted to mention a few things that have been going on recently. One is happy to hear that the full federal certification review of the Old Colony Metropolitan Planning Organization was completed by our federal partners at Federal Highway and Federal Transit. We know that's a lot of work, and a lot of work for staff goes into that process, and it seemed like a very successful review with a lot of great sort of work and recommendations and commendations coming out of that. So just wanted to acknowledge that taking place, that certification review process has been completed. That's something that happens every 4 years. So great to hear that that was successful, and all that great work is continuing. Also, there's been a lot of good federal funding applications happening in the region with the bipartisan infrastructure law. There's just a slew of new grant applications, which it's great to hear that there are cities and towns and Old Colony planning as well taking advantage of those grants. So we know that there's a RAISE grant awarded to the city of Brockton, as well as a culvert replacement grant for the town of Plymouth that we're certainly aware of, and working to make sure funds are on track for those. So, as those programs continue to roll out, it's great to see, folks taking advantage of those. And of course, the Safe Streets and Roads for All action plan, which the MPO or OCPC has been awarded as well, to do some more safety planning work in the region, also ongoing. So a lot of exciting things happening at the federal level. And it's great to see folks taking advantage of that in the region. And we, of course, have a new administration here at the state level, relatively, new secretary, and sort of in the process of fleshing out a lot of, vision and goals for transportation in the future, especially as it relates to connections between housing, land use, economic development, and so forth. So we're excited to have, that new direction and sort of vision for our agency going forward. And we'll certainly work with our regional partners on the execution of all of those visions, and work with our new administration on that. So more to come, but it's an exciting time for sure to be working in transportation, and especially the federal funding process, which this MPO, of course, is all about. So that's what I have for this shares report. Anything else to add? All right. With that, then we'll move on to the Brockton Area Transit Report. Is this you, Mike?
Mike is not here today, and
okay.
we do not have any updates at this time.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. That then we'll move on to our next item, which is a report from GATRA. Anyone on from GATRA?
Saw Mary Ellen DeVries.
Okay.
Needed to unmute.
Oh.
Sorry. So we have rolled out our full Sunday service on all of our routes, and we have completed our move from our Plymouth facility to our temporary Wareham location while we're building our new Wareham facility. And we are excited to welcome Halifax in as our newest community. So GATRA now has 30 communities that it represents.
Nice.
And so I think those are our highlights. We're still, watching our numbers slightly rebound. I was just at the Transit CEO conference talking to my counterparts from across the country, and I think we're all feeling that same sluggish but positive rebound of our numbers.
Yeah. Thanks, Mary Ellen. Any questions for Mary Ellen? All right, thank you. We'll move on to our next item, which is Old Colony summary of sort of updates and priorities. Mary and Charlie.
Thank you, Chair. So we wanted to share some thoughts that we had specifically focusing on commuter rail with the group today. And this is part of an ongoing effort, and it's not, it doesn't start with this meeting, and it doesn't stop with this meeting. We've been thinking, coordinating in the background and with groups for some time now, and looking to ramp up the efforts on highlighting the needs of commuter rail. So we have three needs and priorities that we wanted to share with the MPO today to continue the conversation going. So number one is to address the Old Colony Mainline bottlenecks by implementing double tracking on the Old Colony Mainline trunk. That's the section between South Station and Quincy Center. It's a single track right now, so there's some capacity constraints. And fortunately, there's been funding included in the MBTA capital investment program to initiate some planning work on the bottlenecks on the main line. So if you can go to the next screen, there's a screenshot of the page in the CIP, and it's the one in the lower left-hand corner. So that's good news, and we thank the MBTA for including this in their CIP as some initial planning work. One of the things that we were thinking based on the success on the north side of Boston with the environmental justice rail corridor with Lynn, Revere in that area, we're thinking of working with some partners to form a similar type of coalition to have a regional voice to advocate for Old Colony double tracking and some of the implementation ideas that Transit Matters has come up with the overall rail transformation and the electrification of the Old Colony line. So that's priority number one. Priority number two, as you know, commuter rail service on the Old Colony line was restored back in September 1997, went to full schedule in January 1998. Unfortunately, due to some budgetary issues and some other factors, rail service to the Plymouth station was curtailed in April of 2021. Our thought here was to reestablish that commuter rail service, as that link would provide economic stability, support tourism, and foster growth and access to the entire area, and provide mobility options, and would be consistent with reducing auto vehicle trips. We also spotlight and recognize the many efforts of the town of Plymouth, working with investors on the redevelopment of Cordish Park. That Harbor Walk project has been very successful and includes close to 700 units, market rate condominium. So very successful, revitalized area, and just an extra feather in the cap would be having that train service back to Plymouth Station. And last but not least, number three was to, as we've been waiting in the wings for South Coast Rail Phase 1 revenue service, right now I believe it's slated for later in 2024. I understand the MBTA and company are running some test trains, testing the signal systems and the positive train control. But one of the things that we wanted to be mindful of is that once that comes online, we wanted to make sure that there are not substantial disruptions to the level of service and the amount of seating on existing Old Colony train service through Bridgewater, Brockton, and then northward. We understand that currently there are 14 trains inbound, 14 trains southbound out of South Station to and from the terminus of this line right now on Middleborough Lakeville. And our understanding is that the train sets will split in Taunton. Half will go to Fall River, the other half will go to New Bedford, and it'll be the same train set coming from Fall River northward, and it'll link up with the Old Colony line and come through Brockton. And our understanding is that they're going to be adding 2 double-deck cars to each train set. So we wanted to be mindful of existing riders and that make sure they have a spot on the train as the train gets here from the South Coast. So those were kind of some 3 priorities and needs that we've identified in the region, and certainly not new to our conversation in the long range plan. But I don't know if anybody had any questions on that or.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. Any questions? All right. Don't see any, but Charlie, we're of course happy to work with you all on any kind of request or summary that gets put together on like the commuter rail or any the service improvements there. So just keep us posted, and we're happy to work with you all on that and connect you with anyone at the T or anywhere else on that. So
Great, thank you.
Yeah, if I may,
Yeah, go
please,
ahead.
Charlie, just to
Absolutely.
let you know, we have an MBTA advisory board meeting on March 12th, Zoom meeting. You may want to ask for the link and maybe get on and express some of your concerns.
Yeah, we had a really nice call the other day with, I believe, it the chair of the advisory board, Brian.
Brian, yeah,
Yeah, so he was very helpful and very informative. So
okay. I just wanted to
great.
make you aware of it in case you wanted to get on link.
okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Thanks, Dan.
Hello.
All right, that we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is tip amendment number 2. Turn it over to Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we have, as you recall, at the last MPO meeting, the MPO released a amendment number 2 to the FFY 2024 to 2028 Transportation Improvement Program to a 21-day public view and comment period. That amendment was programming in five projects that products of community transit grant awards in the region. So the community transit grant program, a very successful program that the Commonwealth runs every year. Entities in our region have been very successful each year receiving money through that program. And, on behalf of the Old Planning Council, we're very grateful for this program. So what this, a total of 5 awards were awarded this year, 2 to Brockton Area Transit, 1 to Old Colony Planning Council, 1 to Bridgewater Cares Transit Program, and 1 to South Shore Community Action Council. The public notice for this amendment was ran in both Brockton Enterprise and the Patriot Ledger on January 17th, and we also distributed wide to our own communications, our mailing list, our newsletter, social media. So if you want to jump to the next page, perhaps the next one. Next one. Looking for the one with the public result. Okay, here we go. So we had this just summarizes the results of the public review and comment period. Michael Lambert, Brockton Area Transit. He thanked the Commonwealth for the 2 grants to Brockton Area Transit, and said they're much appreciated. Presented to the Old Colony Planning Council Board of Directors at their monthly meeting at the end of January. They noted and they approved it as presented, and the Joint Transportation Committee this month they approved as presented. So those are the comments. I should note that these projects, these are additional projects. They do not affect any existing projects in the TIP. So it's just additional money that's being programmed in. So it's a nice supplement to the TIP. So if anyone has any questions with that, if not, then I'd ask the board to consider endorsing this amendment.
Great, thank you, Bill. Any questions for Bill on the amendment? All right, I don't see any, so with that, I'll ask for a motion and second to endorse this TIP amendment as presented by Bill.
I'll make that motion, Dan Salvucci from Whitman.
Lee Hartman, second.
Great, thank you.
All right,
Motion
Lee,
having
we're
been-
back on, huh?
There you go. All right, with that, I'll ask Charlie to read the roll.
Derek Cravat,
Yes.
Sean Handy,
Yes.
Lee Hartman,
Yes.
Dan Salvucci,
Yes.
Becky Coletta.
Loser.
Yes,
Thank you. Motion carries.
All right, thank you, everyone. We'll move on to our next item, which is the development of the next transportation improvement programs for fiscal years 2025 and 2029. I believe this is Bill as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as Derek alluded, we're developing our FFY 2025 to 2029 tip right now. We recently had a very successful tip readiness days meeting. So for those not familiar, tip readiness day, that's when the MPO and different groups within MassDOT get together and kind of go through the existing tip first of all, and look at the status of projects and where they are, and are they good, where they're programmed, and if they need to be moved, where should they move to. So that's sort of discussion. And beyond that, we look at other projects in our universe of projects that could potentially be programmed as new projects in that in this tip, as 2029 is kind of a blank slate year, if you will, on the end of this tip. So if you go to the next page. So this just kind of shows you the schedule for developing this tip. So underway right now, reviewing the status of projects and consultation with project proponents and MassDOT. Last week we had those tip readiness days meetings. March at the March meeting of this board, that's when we will present a few different scenarios for funding program for projects in the for this tip. So typically what we'll do is internally, we can have this, probably, yes, we have several, like five or six scenarios, and what we usually end up doing is narrowing that down to 2 or 3, and then present it to this board. And from that, the idea is to get a preferred set of projects that'll become our draft tip. So the intent is that the March meeting to select a preferred set of projects going forward. Then the April meeting, potentially release draft 2025 to 29 tip to a 21-day public review and comment period. And pending that everything goes well, at the May meeting, endorse said tip. So that's the schedule as of right now. Go to the next page. Okay, and so these next couple slides, I'm just going to kind of take a look at the results of tip readiness days. So what you see on your screen right here, this is the status of FFF program projects program FFY 2024. So this year, unfortunately, one of our projects in this tip, the Brockton project, which is the signalization and geometric improvements at Center Street and Plymouth Street, Brockton. That's right just outside the downtown, right by the Brockton area transit intermodal center. That the consensus of OCPC and MassDOT is that this project is highly unlikely to meet advertisement this year. There are some major right-of-way issues that still need to be resolved, and there was also the discovery of an endangered species within the project scope area. So these two things combined made this project highly unlikely to be advertised this year, and the recommendation was to move it to 2025. So this does create a couple issues. First, I guess the less serious issue is that it would leave us with a significant amount of unprogrammed target in FFY 2024. And what we're doing behind the scenes right now is consulting with MassDOT, consulting with Brockton Area Transit to see how we can, if there's anything that could potentially be ready right now that we could program this money for within the region. There are different options, but unfortunately, there's a significant amount of unprogrammed money, and if it's not spent in the region, then basically taken back and redistributed across the Commonwealth throughout the program. So so that's the status of FFY 2020. I mean, the good news is that the other projects are on target and expected to be advertised. So go next one. So this is looking at 2025 to 2028. So where you see the yellow, these were projects that were just kind of highlighted as, you know, some questions came up, but otherwise they're good. So don't, if you see it in yellow, don't worry about that too much. And then, so the only other projects showing up in red right now on the existing tip. And, you know, with this one that we've talked about a lot in recent meetings and recent years is the Hanson Route 14 project. This project has experienced continuing delays with design. There's a significant issue that needs to be resolved with a water main that the town does not own. It's actually owned by the Aberdeen Rockland Joint Waterworks. So it carries water from outside Abington and Rockland into those towns. That water main is very old, and so as part of this project, before design proceeds, subsurface utility engineering assessment needed to be completed. We've been working very closely with the town, with MassDOT, with the legislative delegation to identify how to fund this SUE, and want to thank Senator Brady's office, and particularly Al, who's on the call, you know, worked tirelessly on this issue. And you know, the good news is that Senator Brady's office was able to get $100,000 in the state budget to partially fund this subsurface utility engineering assessment. And even better news is we recently learned that the MassDOT will be in contact with the town shortly to contract out that $100,000 to help the town at least move that portion of the design ahead. So that's good news. As you can see, it's in pink, red. The consensus was that this project be moved out of 2027 and either into 2028 or 2029. 2028, as of right now, yeah, it's a fairly fully programmed year. So if we moved into 2028, then we'd have to move at least two of those 2028 projects into 2029, or we can keep 2028 as is and just take this out of 2027 and into 2029. What's unknown now is, so now that seems like that SUE could happen this summer. If that affects the status on this staying in 2027, it seems like it doesn't. It seems like there's still substantial design issues with this project, that it would still be really tight design wise to keep this in 2027. And you know, the thing that we always like to err on the side of caution, because if we see right now with 2024 and that project in Brockton not going forward, what happens is that creates a cascading effect in the tip. So so this is, you know, kind of outside the scope of the status report, but so 2020, so that project center at Plymouth and Brockton not being able to be advertised this year and having to go to 2025, well, that significantly over programs us for 2025. We had two existing projects in 2025, one in Brockton, one in Easton. both of those looking really good for 2025. Then that creates difficult decisions on which, we can't program all three of those projects. So then does one get bumped? And then if one gets bumped into 2026, then that can bump those 2026 projects. So this is why, we always stress the importance of project readiness. And so 2027 seems like a long way out, but it really isn't. And so we want to make sure that if it does stay in 2027, that we feel really good that it can stay there. But from the talks I've had with partners right now, it doesn't seem like that would be a long shot to keep us in 2027. But so that's where we're at right now with this. And these are decisions that, as I mentioned in my last, well, actually, when I was talking about the schedule, at the next month's meeting, we're going to present a few different scenarios. So we're going to test different scenarios with not only moving those projects 2024 and 2025 around, but also where the Hanson Route 14 project ends up. So that was the 2025 to 2029. I'm sorry, 2025 to 2028 portion of the tip. That was the only red flag. Otherwise, everything looks pretty good. Which program, so that was good news. And then we talked about some other projects that could potentially be programmed into the tip as new projects that that did look like great projects, and it's if as long as they can be programmed under the target, there's something that we're considering. So that's so that was the result of tip readiness days. I know that was really long-winded. I don't know if anyone has any questions about that.
Thanks, Bill. That was a good summary. Does anyone have any questions for Bill? Don't see any, Bill. So yeah, that's helpful. And then yeah, this will all be used to inform that set of scenarios that you'll be presenting in March, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Okay. Yep. So all of this information will be kind of synthesized, and a new program of projects for fiscal years 25 to 29 will be presented next month for folks to view, and then that will be going into the next tip. So thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
All right, move on to our next item, which I believe is kind of our other business item. Oh, we have administrative matters and other business. So Charlie.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. So we have a couple announcements and reminders, and an upcoming schedule of MPO meetings for the signatories' consideration. So first and foremost, the Massachusetts Department of Fish and Game has a culvert replacement grant program out there on the street right now for municipalities, and there's a hyperlink here in your staff report, and we also posted the staff report to the chat with the link and some other links if you so inclined to investigate this further. Next slide. So one of the exciting things that USDOT has issued a 2023 Equity Action Plan, and upcoming on February 26th from 3:30 to 4:30, there's a Zoom webinar on this equity plan. Encourage folks to attend and see what this plan is all about and how it can complement our DEI work with our metropolitan planning process. Next slide. There's some more information and hyperlinks to the information. So one of the things been around the last couple of years, you might have heard about the bipartisan infrastructure law, affectionately known as BIL or Bill, or with one L. And one of the things in Massachusetts, to the credit of the administration and Governor Healy, is they've created the Federal Funds and Infrastructure Office. This is an effort to capitalize and catalyze efforts to capture these federal funds coming out of Washington, D.C. So this is a great opportunity. There's a partnership meeting on a monthly basis, and there are fantastic guest speakers talking about ideas and opportunities. So this is some hyperlinks to the different web pages and information. This is open not only to obviously agencies such as Commonwealth agencies, but it's open to any and all communities because these discretionary grants, a lot of NOFOs coming out. So the effort here is to make sure communities are well positioned with resources needed to apply for these discretionary grants. And next up. So let's not forget the 2024 MassDOT Transportation Innovation Conference is being held at the DCU Center in Worcester on April 30th and May 1st. Just a insider tech note, early bird registration ends tomorrow. So if you want to save some money when you register, make sure you do it by the end of the day tomorrow. I believe space available total is 1,200 attendees, and the last time I checked, it was up about 800 registrants so far. So that's great news to see that interest. Next slide. Hey, and who's this guy? It's Ray Garino. It's OCPC staff. He's just celebrated his 19th work anniversary at OCPC earlier this month. But Ray will be retiring on March 8th, and after our JTC meeting on March 7th, we'll be having a retirement party. All are welcome to attend. The good news here is Ray is going to be working with us part-time beyond the retirement. So we're thankful for Ray's many, many years of contributions and expertise. And we're also thankful that Ray will still be with us, though in a part-time fashion. So the QR code here, if you want to click to register. Next slide. And here's a list of, please save the dates for upcoming MPO meetings, and please don't get nervous. We might not be seeing all 10 of these meetings actually happen, but it's our expectation that at least through the June meeting that those will be happening, because that's part of the important development of the 3C planning documents, such as the TIP and the Unified Planning Work Program. The TIP is expected to be released to public review and comment period in April and endorsed in May, and UPWP might be on the same cycle, might release in May and endorse in June. But going forward, there might be amendments along the way, such as the ones Bill talked about earlier. So there might be a need for additional MPO meetings throughout the transportation calendar here, looking out through the end of December. And as Derek mentioned earlier, though the secretary couldn't join us today, it's our hope and our collective effort that the secretary will be able to join us at a future meeting. So we certainly look forward to that opportunity.
Great. Thank you, Charlie. Absolutely. Yeah, we will certainly be in touch about the secretary's availability, which I think we've talked in the past that would be an in-person hybrid option as well, but in-person component to that. So yeah, and yeah, just congratulations to Ray as well. It's been great working with you over the years. I'm glad you'll still be on part-time, so we'll still see you, I'm sure, but that's exciting news for sure, and just wanted to congratulate you on that. All right. Any other business? Oh, thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry to, I appreciate it. I appreciate working with you all through the years, and it's been great. I want to thank all the federal and state partners in all these years. I hope we made some good plans together, and we made a difference. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ray. All right. Any other business? All right. I don't see any. So with that, I'll ask for a motion and second to adjourn.
I'll motion Dan Sabucci to adjourn.
Is there a second?
So
Second, Becky Coletta.
All right. Thank you. I think without objection, we're adjourned. But Charlie, did you have?
yeah,
something?
there was
Yep.
actually
Great.
a question in the chat that said, if no secretary, how are you taking minutes, violation of open meeting law. I'm not sure who this person is affiliated with, but for the record, Derek Cravat is representing Secretary Monica Tibbetts, not today on the MPO panel. MPO signatories, there are 8. And on the MPO, it's Secretary and CEO of MassDOT, the MassDOT Administrator, the Administrator of Brockton Area Transit, the Mayor of Brockton, Chief Elected Officials of Plymouth, Whitman, West Bridgewater, and so that's the 8 signatories. And if a signatory is not able to attend, they may, at the signatory's discretion, send us a representative or a designee to represent said signatory. So I hope that can answer that question. And no, it's not a violation of the open meeting law.
So I think the question is, are you taking minutes? And I think the answer is yes, staff is
Yeah.
taking the minutes.
Yep.
That is correct. Yep.
Yep, they're posted on our website. And if you actually click on the link that was in the chat for the staff report, you will see the minutes of the January meeting as an example to Lee Harmon's point.
Also, just a note for the record, this meeting has been recorded. And so there will, in addition to the minutes, there will be a recording of the meeting.
Correct.
Thank you both for clarifying that.
So let
All
me
right.
just, before everybody jumps, let me just
Sure.
capture the web link for the MPO page on our website. And I'll put that in the chat. So if people want to investigate previous meetings and see what happened, we catalog everything on our website. So it's a great resource and a credit to the communications team here at OCPC.
Great, thank you, Charlie. Okay, so we did have a motion and second to adjourn, so I'll call for a voice vote just to make it official. So all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay, I think without objection, we're adjourned. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you back here in March. Have a
Okay,
great
thank
rest
you.
of your day. Thanks
Thanks,
all.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.